Welcome to A Moment of Xen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Xen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, politics, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Xen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful friends and loyal listeners. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Xen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And remember that we are now on TV. Tune in at watch.kpmedia.tv and catch a moment of Xen on the Impact Live channel Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern. All episodes are now available on demand. We have such a great show lined up for you today. In our influencer segment brought to you by Biche Cucina, we are featuring Ava Breeze, a young artist with a very clear drive, a 15-year-old actress, model, and singer who founded Ava's Advocacy Army to help bring awareness to her younger sister's disability. She's coming on to chat Irreverent, the series she's starring in, her new single, Young Love, and her mission to spread awareness for children with disabilities. In our innovation and tech segment brought to you by Caldwell Soames, we have returning contributor Paul Caldwell, chairman and CEO of Caldwell Soames. And today we are chatting with the beautiful Cassiah. Cassiah Setnar is one of the best digital strategists in the world. She is a member of the Forbes Communications Council, and which is an invitation-only organization for senior-level communications and public relations executives. And today we are chatting about Fintech's social impact, what cross-border social commerce can mean for the future, and how it all ties into Web3. In My Digital World segment brought to you by Tempus Network, we are joined by our regular contributor, CEO of Tempus Network, Shahal Khan. And today he's joined by Jason Brink, President of Blockchain at Gala Games. We are chatting about blockchain gaming, play-to-earn models, what the monetization incentives look like for gamers, and how to implement a viable economic system into GameFi. Now, in our Crypto Frontier segment, brought to you by CCP Digital, we are featuring crypto innovator and investor, industry pioneer, John Tobacco, host of the very famous Wise Guys on Newsmaxs TV. Today, we are chatting about how the Metaverse is now trickling and making its way into cityworks. That's right. There are cities now poised to enter the Metaverse. And John is here to break it all down for us. In our Express Business and Buzz segment, we have President of Revere Securities, Kyle Wool, who will cover the latest in business news and hot investment strategies. Stay tuned for our influencer segment featuring Ava Breeze. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to A Moment of Xen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
If you've missed out dining in New York City for the past year, it's time to visit the legendary Biche Cucina. Located in the heart of Midtown, Biche specializes in blending delicious Northern Italian and American cuisine with dishes such as the incredible taglione lobster, ravioli masala, ossobuco, and pappardelle al telefono, along with many other mouthwatering offerings. You deserve a great night out. Call Biche Cucina, 212-757-2600 or online at bichecucina.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Xen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Xen Sams. Now, coming up in just a few minutes, we have our influencer segment brought to you by Biche Cucina, and we are featuring Ava Breeze, a young artist with a very clear drive. She's an actress, a model, and a singer. Now, Ava Breeze is a series regular for an upcoming streaming network series called Irreverent. She's also recognized as the face of child hunger in the National Feeding America campaign and an advocate for children with special needs. Her campaign, Ava's Advocacy Army, is in honor of her sister, Lyra, who has an undiagnosed disease but closely aligns with Angelman syndrome. Now, Angelman syndrome is a genetic disorder. It causes delayed development, problems with speech and balance, intellectual disability, and sometimes even seizures. People with Angelman syndrome often smile and laugh frequently and have overly happy, excitable personalities. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi, everyone.
So nice to have you on. You are so special, right here from our very own New Jersey. And you are just 14 years old and very ambitious. You're a huge advocate for anti bullying as well, due to the DHX30 disease. Your sister was bullied, which subsequently prompted you to start the Ava's Advocacy Army. What is the mission of Ava's Army?
My mission with Ava's Advocacy Army is to spread awareness for all types of rare disease, and there's so much miseducation when it comes to diagnosis and how to treat children with special needs. Like, I've witnessed so many instances where she was mistreated, and I want to educate people to spread kindness.
So beautiful. Now, you are also one of the youngest ambassadors for Pure Vita, and the profits from the sale of your specialty of your really, it's your design. It's a bracelet. They're used to support DHX, the DHX30 fund. How did you get involved? And can you tell us a little bit more about their work and their mission?
So the great thing about Pure Vita is a lot of their funding goes to artisans where they make the bracelets. So my mission with my bracelet collection, it's one bracelet. It's called Ava's Army. So you could purchase them on my website in my link tree on my Instagram, and all of the proceeds go to DHX30 funding because it's such a rare disease that my sister has. So any funding we could get for it really means a lot, and it really helps go forward with research.
I love it that you're out there advocating for your younger sister, trying to make a career for yourself and a brand, making sure you're in school and really just being a team player. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because it's not your average, 14-year-old story.
So I am 15 years old. I started music at the beginning of COVID, so it's a new process and a new journey that I'm going on. I have been acting pretty much my entire life, so I'm really looking forward to see where that goes. And I'm an honors student. I have A's in my grades, and I'm always looking to push myself to be better.
And pushing yourself to be better is exactly what you've done. You now have a new song called Young Love that's streaming. Tell us about the inspiration behind this song and where could we hear it?
So Young Love, where I got the inspiration for it, is so many teens go through young relationships, and I feel like in our mass media, the only relationships that ever get portrayed in music are like from the adult point of view, and like what they go through and their hardships of breaking up with people and all of that. And my song Young Love, it's meant to show that relationships are not meant to last, and it's really the memories that we hold on to that makes young love so great. So I really wanted to portray that with my song.
And tell me, how did you get started in the entertainment and music industry at 5 years old?
So I actually kind of started backwards in the entertainment industry. So my mother was working a job for a Band-Aid company, and their booked little girl called out sick. So my mom was just like, hey, it's kind of last minute. Here's a picture of my daughter. She like fits the age category. And they were just like, oh my God, she's perfect. So I started with that company, and then I started to take it a little bit more seriously as I got older. And then it spread off into acting and most recently singing. And here I am today.
And it's, and here I am today. I love how you say that. And it bringing us full circle all the time. And you have come a long way in such a short time. How did you start writing and producing your own music?
So I started during the height of COVID because I've always loved to sing and create my own music, but I'd never write them down. So I was just like, what if I started writing lyrics and playing the songs back to like hear how it sounds? So once I started doing that, I was just like, this is actually decent. I'm going to try and push this into production and see what happens. So then came my first single, Girls of Summer, and now here I am 5 songs later with my most recent release, Young Love.
So sweet, so sweet. Young Love. I remember those days. Well, we've gone on to more serious love called marriage. And I love it that you're keeping it fresh, though, even at just 15 years old. Are you involved in any upcoming projects other than the series that you have just filmed?
So I'm actually about to start working on an independent film, and I'm going to be finishing my album this year. So look forward to that, and one of my songs is actually being considered for a backing track in an upcoming TV series, but that's all I can say about that.
All great stuff, Ava. All great stuff. Well, listen, we're out of time, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for stopping by, saying hello, telling us your wonderful story, and really being a great big sister.
Thank you so much for having me. You were a great host.
You got it, my love. Guys, check her out. You have to check her out. Her song is incredible. If you go on the gram, you will find her. Ava Breeze _ exactly the way it sounds. That was our influencer segment brought to us by BJ Cucina. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CCP Digital, bringing you a view from inside blockchain, cryptocurrency, and NFTs. Introducing the latest Blockchain Heroes series, Retro Rebellion NFT collectible card packs from the Nifty Company. Available January 2022. Find out more online at ccpdigital.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Coming up in our Crypto Frontier segment brought to you by CCP Digital, we are featuring crypto innovator and investor, industry pioneer, John Tabacco, host of the very famous Wise Guys on Newsmaxs TV. Now, I love how all these experts are coming on to our show, allowing me to bring you the edutainment you are all so excited about, making us the #1 show on the WOR block. Now, JT is one of the earlier innovators in the crypto and blockchain space. Impressively, he also served as president and co-founder of Overstock.com. He is recognized by the USPTO as an inventor on multiple granted blockchain patents. Now, John's track record is to initiate, instigate, disrupt, and exit. His inventions and thought leadership were critical in the launching of the very first public bond offering on the blockchain and the first US regulated digital security token. Today, we are chatting about the metaverse and how it's trickling and making its way into cityworks. That's right. There are cities now poised to enter the metaverse. And if you follow the news about the metaverse, you might think that it's a gaming platform for kids or a place where Facebook is planning to wreak new havoc on society. But there are signs that the metaverse will finally evolve beyond games and global 3D concerts. It has so much more potential than just being a platform for fun and games. Done right, it's going to expand the way we live our daily lives and how our cities function. This past November, Seoul announced that it's going to spend $3.3 billion by the year 2030 to become a metaverse city. That means in the year 2030, you can visit government offices from your couch to apply for new travel documents or permits. Virtual city officials are going to answer your requests online. Artificial intelligence will very intelligently manage utilities like energy and water waste, recycling, and so much more. And in the metaverse, in theory, it's going to be the sweeping digital world where people can interact with digital avatars while tethered to their living rooms via AR glasses and VR headsets. And here to chat some more is my dear friend and crypto influencer, John Tabacco. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Having me. So great to finally be with you. You're a shooting star.
So excited that you're finally on, and I can't think of the best possible way to introduce you to our platform because this is right up your alley. It's everything you've been talking about way before it was even all the craze. So let's start with these cities entering the metaverse, okay? Let's circle back to Seoul. In 2023, a virtual office for general public services, tentatively named Metaverse 120 Center, is going to be established, where citizens equipped with VR headsets are going to meet with avatar officials to handle citizen complaints and consultations. This is taking Seoul a step further into the metaverse by providing virtual services for citizens and basically businesses. What do you say to this? And are there any local cities with metaverse plans right here in the tri-state area with similar visions? Talk to me, JT.
Well, Zen, first and foremost, I want to congratulate Japan for getting on the metaverse train. But I do want to say to them, you're late because, as you know, my brothers and I, and our company Deployment, we've actually bucked the trend. We're not going with Mark Zuckerberg. We're not going with the technocrats in Silicon Valley. We've taken matters into our own hands. And we've actually built my hometown, Staten Island, New York, the Muniverse. It'll be the first municipality in the metaverse. And it's not one of these places where the woke tards from Silicon Valley are going to come in and start setting rules, and there's going to be strip clubs and all this other stuff. It's an all-American community, and we're working very close, getting the cooperation and support from a great borough president here in Staten Island, Vito Fossella, who wants to create more opportunities for kids to learn how to code and grow into these metaverse jobs, because it's going to get so big, as well as make the citizens experience, the constituent experience here in Staten Island better. Then we're in the process of building all New York City. You can watch a little video and see a little more about what we're doing by going to nycmeta.io. And we're building all of New York City, but we started out with my favorite place on earth, our little redheaded step borough here, Staten Island, New York. And a lot of the metaverse platforms are getting a lot of, I would say, updraft from some of the big retailers. Nike, Adidas, Microsoft, banks, McDonald's are all doing intellectual property and trademark filings in the metaverse. That doesn't mean they're going to be in mine or Meta's, but they're just protecting their naming rights in any metaverse. And one of the things we've done, Zen, that I think is really special, and it hopefully can turn into some kind of public-private partnerships that other boroughs and other municipalities will look at. What we did is we built the first 7 landmarks in the Staten Island metaverse. And they are cultural facilities, they are government buildings, they are theaters, they are gardens. And these are all basically nonprofits. Like you got the St. George Theater, which is a landmark. You got the Snug Harbor Cultural Center and the Japanese Reflecting Gardens. You got Borough Hall. You have John Catsimatidis's newest thing, the Staten Island Ferry Hawk Stadium. We have Pete Davidson's ferry in our metaverse.
Yes,
And
so much is going on. And I let's segue back because there's about 5.5 minutes left. But what you're saying hits very close to home. And I always tell people, look, Decentraland is made up of about 90,000 parcels, and only about half are available for companies to own and develop. And virtual parcels derive their value from the finite nature of virtual land. And that's a very familiar notion among those of us who rallied behind Bitcoin and its limited 21 million coin supply. But when you're looking at where companies are headed, and you're looking at the evolution that we have made from Web 1 to Web 2 and now Web 3.0, where you could 3.0, where you could write it, read it, and own it, it's really taking on a much different connotation. Because if you look at the very first users of the metaverse, they were gaming platforms, and artists who immediately recognized the economic potential of the idea started jumping on. Now you have the fashion industry woke up, right? The first Metaverse Fashion Week was hosted in March in the metaverse, and the design elements were somewhat like rudimentary and really reminiscent of the 1990s. But guess what, John? More than 100,000 users still flocked into the platform during that week, and that's much more than any in-person show could ever hold. So you are 100% right. This is the next phase.
Yeah, and one of the things we're doing is we're basically working with Staten Island residents, Staten Island community leaders, businesses, and create a metaverse that reflects basically the values and ideals of Staten Island New Yorkers, not what some major technocrat company wants us to do in the metaverse. We're creating opportunities for people who may be homebound, they may be sick, they may be older and still scared about COVID, but they can go see an art gallery demonstration at the Snug Harbor Gallery. They can go see a show at the St. George Theater. And many of these cultural institutions especially have been hurt over the pandemic. Funding is down, attendance is down, and they need it. So aside from obviously another pursuit of capitalism on my part, I want to make sure that our metaverse and the communities that join our metaverse are doing some good for the community, and not just creating another crazy gaming platform where kids can go on and start shooting each other all day long. There is good out there. The metaverse gets a bad rap. People say it's a subhuman, transhuman. This is the next phase, and the same people that are saying this were against emails.
Exactly.
In
Exactly.
2000.
They were the ones saying, no, 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 this is, the work of a conspiracy. But let's go. I have a very specific question for you. We have about 3 minutes left. I'm just keeping track of the time. I want to chat digital twins. Okay. So this new technology, which creates virtual models of cities and simulates policy scenarios, could be a potential game changer for urban planning. And digital twins allow cities not just to create virtual models, but to run simulations of new policies or infrastructure projects and preview their potential impacts before making a decision in the real world. Where do you see this heading, John?
Well, I think it's an interesting observation. In our metaverse, we're creating not gaming, but we're creating cool micro tasking jobs where people can actually earn points and win tokens that they can spend by doing tasks in the metaverse and making it better for us. And in the same place, we're taking a small portion of every person that buys a piece of real estate in our metaverse, and we're making all those people owners of the company. So we want to get their input. And I think somewhere down the line, many of these metaverses, if they're done properly, they would run as almost a referendum government where you talk to the people that come to your shop, that consume your goods, that travel in your metaverse, that buy in your metaverse, and ask them, how the heck would you like us to do this? So I think it's the evolution of something great. Zen, I spent 25 years on Wall Street, as you know, traditional, pounding the pavement, back rooms, ballrooms, all that good stuff. And in 2015, one of my mentors, Patrick Byrne, came to me and said, JT, Overstock has to be the first company to accept Bitcoin. This thing is going to be huge. I didn't know much about it, but I always let my mind think. And I moved from a place I knew very well to a place I knew barely nothing about. And it turned out Overstock was the first company to accept Bitcoin as an e-commerce company in the world. We did the first public bond offering, as you said. Thank you so much. The first legal security token. And I think I've been ahead of the curve in my life, in my fintech companies on Wall Street, and now going into cryptocurrency. I am working on my first book, The Goomba's Guide to Cryptocurrency, where I lay things out pretty simply for people who want to just get the dip your toe in the water. But
the 30-second quick and dirty. And that leaves us with less than 30 seconds, just enough for me to say goodbye and direct everybody to your incredible platforms. John, it was such an incredible opportunity to have you on. You are always so full of knowledge. Thank you so much for chatting.
Then thank you so much, and all the best to you and the family.
You got it, my love. Well, that was John Tobacco, and that was our Crypto Frontier segment brought to us by CCP Digital. Make sure you definitely check out John Tobacco every Saturday night. He's the host of Wise Guys on Newsmaxs at 10 p.m. And make sure you check out nycmeta.io. Now, remember, guys, data is constantly being collected about our movements, our consumption, and even our behavior, both by our governments and by private companies. And the Metaverse allows us to put that data finally to good use. The overlap between the virtual and real worlds will simplify our interactions with the government and save time and money. Simulated twins of our cities will quickly calculate the impact of changes and create a cleaner and less stressful environment. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. That was our Crypto Frontier segment brought to us by CCP Digital. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Coming up in our Innovation and Tech segment brought to you by Caldwell Soames, we have our returning contributor, Paul Caldwell, Chairman and CEO of Caldwell Soames. And today we are chatting with his good friend, Cassiah Setnar. She's earned a rock-solid reputation as one of the best digital strategists in the world. From 2012 to 2019, she served as the Senior Director of Digital Strategy at Jeunesse, a multi-billion-dollar beauty and wellness brand. She now owns a marketing agency and focuses her time on business consulting. Today, we are chatting about fintech's social impact, what cross-border social commerce can mean for the future, and how it all ties into Web3. Now, experts predict that NFTs and Web3 transactions will most likely be commonplace in e-commerce within less than 5 years. So if you don't want to fall behind, it's time to start planning ahead. Now, Web3 eliminates the need for trust and the need for intermediaries facilitating virtual transactions. Instead, safe transactions and reliable payments are guaranteed through the blockchain. And at least in theory, Web3 would also better protect user privacy, since today it's mainly big tech who are collecting potential sensitive information and user data. Now, Web3, crypto, and NFTs are already impacting e-commerce, which is a development that will only accelerate. And the startups keep innovating at high speed. The use cases for blockchain keeps expanding. Now, I'm going to tie this into cross-border e-commerce growth. Now, during the pandemic, shopping habits shifted away from physical retail and toward e-commerce. Now, for the COVID-19 pandemic, this was a movement that was greatly accelerated. Consumers are now becoming aware of how simple and convenient online shopping is, so much that it's predicted that there will be a 146 million more online shopper experience by the year 2020 than the previous year. That's a lot of people online, totaling an estimated 2.30 billion digital buyers. Here to chat some more are Paul Caldwell and Cassiah. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Hi, Zen. Thank you so much for having us today.
So nice to finally have you on. Paul, welcome back.
Thanks, Zen. How are you?
Doing great. All right, let's dive right into this, Paul. So international e-commerce enables merchants to increase their revenues and customer base rather than focusing solely on their domestic market. And in order to successfully grow cross-border sales, it's crucial to provide international shoppers with the same seamless online experience, that the shopping experience that they enjoy on domestic websites. And there are many barriers, though, at this point, preventing international shoppers from placing an order, including the inability to pay in their local currency and with their preferred local payment method, and the need to pay custom duties and taxes and expensive shipping rates and complicated and costly return processes all have a negative impact on conversion rates. Online shoppers who experience difficulties when trying to purchase cross-border are likely to abandon their cart, Paul, and search for a more user-friendly website to make their purchase. What do you say to this? And talk to me about the innovative platforms that you currently are looking at.
Well, then, you know, we're in private equity. We're kind of in the middle of the space. It's we're not venture capital. We're not the Greylocks of the world. You know, we're not at the very beginning of the process. So we sort of see the companies that have made it beyond startup, if you will. We have a few companies in our portfolio actually that are in this space right now. Blockchain Data, Original Digital Corporation with its OG Pay and OG 2D. And what we see really emerging in the space for cross-border payments is tokenization of payments. Just like you could tokenize cash flow inside a non-fungible token or an NFT, you can also tokenize a payment inside that same context and using that same technology. And so, for example, OG Pay right now is facilitating cross-border payments through simple widget technologies that can activate a payment in another country and on a website in another country. And the transaction can take place simply wallet to merchant wallet, so consumer wallet to merchant wallet, without having to get on the rails of credit card rails, without having to find their way through all kinds of red tape, if you will. I mean, just countries working between one to another. So these things are starting to open up, but as you mentioned at the very beginning in your opening, that there's a lot of theoretical, there's a lot of, we have to get to the practical applications of things, I think, to be on the leading edge and not sort of bleed out in the process as a business. So it's important to make sure people to make sure that they stay aligned with the companies that are actually able to get the transaction done, get the work done. And there are some great companies out there in the space, but it's cross-border payments is not as simple. It comes off the tongue very easily, but it's not that simple. There are a lot of legislative regulations, statutory requirements, reporting requirements, tax requirements. It's quite complicated. So it's important to find trustworthy, proven, vetted solutions, no matter where you're at in the process. If you're a company wanting to accept payments, or if you're a consumer looking for ways to more simply maybe get a wallet-to-wallet transactions, you can save a little money on fees. It's important to still do your homework and make sure you know you're working with the right kind of companies.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. And the popularity of online shopping extends to purchasing from online stores in other countries. And this cross-border e-commerce market is growing at double the rate of domestic e-commerce, driven by really consumers seeking brands or products unavailable in their home country, and more, and more competitive pricing. And WorldPlay found that 55% of online shoppers worldwide have purchased from another country in the last 12 months. And this is, I'm going to segue to Cassiah. Understanding the market, Cassiah, the market differences, and providing shoppers with a seamless shopping experience tailored to their market's preferences and behaviors is the key to successful, really cross-border selling. And global statistics show that by localizing the customer journey on their current web store, retailers and brands see an average uplift of 58% in conversion rates across all international markets, with leading markets showing increases of over 250%. What should brands be thinking of at this critical point in time from your experience?
Look, brands need to be thinking about convenience, right? You talked about it, people abandoning their shopping cart if they have to go get their credit card, or if for some reason their transactions being denied. So brands really need to be thinking about, hey, that busy mom that's on the go but wants to place an order for something, you better make it as quick and as simple as possible for them to make the transaction. I think there's a lot of things to take into consideration. Like Paul mentioned, you have, regulations, you have very strict legal aspects of, reporting within different countries as finances are being exchanged. But this is so disruptive and innovative. And I think that what makes it so unique is that it's major improvements in terms of being customer centric, very efficient for the end buyer, and also informedness, right? We want the consumer to be informed. Hey, there's multiple ways that you can pay without having the middleman take a cut of the transaction. And so I love what Paul is doing at OG Pay. I think that makes a lot of sense for all of us to have a centralized wallet where we can make international transactions very quickly. And I think that's what the consumer ultimately wants. And shows like this, Xen, where you're educating the average consumer on how to do that, because we hear about NFTs and crypto, and you saying in the next 5 years, like, look, this is going to be mainstream. This is where now you need to look into safe and secure wallets, where your cash is going to be safe, how to do these transactions. And OG Pay is leading the way in doing that. I think it's important for the brands to look at facilitating very simple checkout processes. That's where we see social media heading, where there's going to be in-app purchases where you can use multiple forms of currency. And I think that's also where you're seeing the transaction fees happening with credit cards, right? I used to travel constantly, I've been all around the world, and I had a very specific credit card that I used because I didn't have foreign transaction fees. And so part of getting away from that is saying, hey, you don't need to have, this expensive credit card to be able to purchase overseas or cross-border. Now anyone can do it from the comfort of their home, which is where we're seeing people doing the most shopping, and where it's trending is all through e-commerce. And so brands really need to take note.
Exactly.
Customer centric and as simple and as easy as possible for the end user to purchase their products.
Yeah, you said it best. I mean, and it feels like with what you're saying and Paul is saying, that OG Pay is really solving real world issues. And I'll segue to Paul right now. In the near future, Paul, consumers will most likely be buying products in web shops through innovative contract-enabled and distributed applications, dApps, over the blockchain. And self-executing code will make these transactions immutable and trustless, leading to reductions in returns, chargeback fees, and even fraud. While today, trust is the primary driver in e-commerce, that will be less of importance in Web3, where it's the blockchain that guarantees the transactions. So paying with cryptocurrencies in e-commerce will be just as common as paying with credit cards or PayPal. What do you say to this? And talk to me about the efficiency OG Pay is allowing.
You go onto a web shop, a web store, at the checkout, to be as simple as pay now with your presets, and your presets could be your cryptocurrency. It could be your Bitcoin and your Bitcoin wallet. And people think they can pay with cryptocurrency simply right now. What they don't look at a lot of times is there's an actual tax, there's a fee that they pay when they pay with crypto, because you're still talking about middlemen. You're still talking about a form of cryptocurrency merchant service provisioning. And when that goes away and it all becomes true, in simple terms, peer-to-peer, with the one peer being the company, the business, and the other peer being the consumer, without any of that middle ground, so to speak, the facilitation of that, where you can really make money in different ways. If you tied the shopping cart in, if a company like OG Pay ties their shopping cart into a unique liquidity provisioning platform that's already trading crypto in the background and earning profits, bringing liquidity to the space immediately
is a win-win.
Yeah, so that transaction can
Yes.
happen, but the consumer doesn't need to get beat up with fees in the process.
Yeah, it's a great synergy. We have about a minute and a half left in this segment, and I want to get to Cassiah really quickly. This is an important question, and I want you to answer it as quickly and as efficiently as you can. So, as with many emerging technologies, there's yet no universal definition of what exactly the metaverse is or what it will look like, right? But we know that it's coming, and that it's in part it's already here. The metaverse is a combination and extension of many existing and emerging technologies such as AR, VR, blockchain, crypto, and social commerce. And one definition that often used is that the metaverse is an overexpanding world of real-time virtual spaces in 3D that are just additional selling channels, but become an economy of their own. Building customers' experiences in the metaverse is really an exciting challenge and opportunity for e-commerce brands. Cassiah, talk to me. What are some of the opportunities these new models will allow for with today's brands, this Web3 paradigm, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, the metaverse, obviously, it's going to give the consumer a visceral experience with a brand. You know, you put on your Oculus or your headset, whatever that looks like. I know Apple has a headset coming out. It's going to give those brands a chance to invite people in from their homes to actually take a look around. You know, it's the truest form of video that you can get because it's immersive. So without seeing, touching in real life, it's the closest thing to it. And so I think brands need to take that into consideration. I think adoption will be kind of slow, especially because we're just getting out of lockdown with COVID. People are wanting a live and in-person experience. But for people who can't get that, the metaverse is going to be a place where you absolutely will have an immersive experience with brands, and brands need to really look at that closely, how they can make an amazing experience for people to get to know, see and touch and experience their brand in virtual reality. I think it's a huge opportunity for brands to take note and start now.
Well said. Well said. We are out of time. I will say thank you so much, Paul Caldwell, for bringing on Cassiah. She's a plethora of knowledge, and this was another great segment. Paul, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Cassiah, always a pleasure.
Likewise, Zen. Thank you so much. Make
sure you check out ogpay.com, revolutionizing the way you use your money. And make sure you check out Cassiah at Cassiah.com. That was our innovation and tech segment brought to us by Caldwell Soames. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Tempus, the next generation of the engagement economy, allowing people to make money on their data and earn cryptocurrency for the time they spend on things they already currently love to do. With Tempus, brands will have the ability to pay you directly for interacting with apps, watching videos, playing games, and more. Tempus, the time is now. Engage and earn.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to My Digital World segment brought to you by Tempus Network, a Burkhan World project. Welcoming back to the segment is our regular contributor, CEO of Tempus Network, Shahal Khan. And today he is joined by Jason Brink, President of Blockchain at Gala Games, the world's leading gaming platform with blockchain integration. Now, as the president of Blockchain at Gala Games, Jason devotes considerable resources to the creation of stable play-to-earn ecosystems as a means to generate new opportunities for gamers all around the world. And today, we are chatting about blockchain gaming, play-to-earn models, what the monetization incentives look like for gamers, and how to implement a viable economic system into GameFi. But what is GameFi? Well, for those unfamiliar, it's a portmanteau of game and finance. GameFi involves blockchain games that offer economic incentives to the people that play them, otherwise known as play-to-earn games. Players can typically earn in-game rewards like crypto tokens, virtual land, avatars, and other NFTs by completing tasks, battling other players, or even simply progressing through various game levels. And unlike traditional video games, play-to-earn games let you buy and then transfer the in-game assets to outside of the game's virtual world. Now, some of the most popular blockchain games that you may have heard of are titles like Axie Infinity, The Sandbox, and Decentraland. Now, imagine a world in which you can make money just by playing a video game. Not fake in-game money, but the kind of money that helps pay the bills and keeps food on the table. And imagine all the assets in a game, like the characters, the outfits, the weapons, could be bought and sold in the real world. Well, that's GameFi. And GameFi is one of the fastest growing segments in the video game industry. Now, while the space is still pretty new type of ownership enabled by the industry's structure is all the craze. And this is not a pipe dream. It's happening in real time. And here to chat some more are Shahal Khan and Jason Brink. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here with you.
Shahal, welcome back. So Jason, I will start with you. Now, before now, gamers are able to make money from streaming and selling rare collectibles that they acquire within a game. These collectibles can be pretty expensive depending on the level of how popular the game is. However, the items sold by the gamers are only valuable in that game ecosystem. This is not the case with play-to-earn models. In play-to-earn models, players can collect assets worth money outside of the game ecosystem, and this could range from crypto coins to NFTs that collectors can buy in external marketplaces. This makes the play-to-earn model worthwhile for gamers, drawing in those who would otherwise not spend much time on a game. What do you say to this, and what kind of income are we talking about?
Well, it really depends on what you're playing and sort of the way that you start out. So the way that we look at it is that typically speaking in the gaming space, it's always been this concept of a whale hunt, right? If you look at traditional free-to-play gaming, of all of the income that comes through a game, only 3% or 80% of that comes from about 3% of the users. And most of that just goes to a production company or to a game publisher. We looked at this and said, well, what if we could come up with a different way to do this? What if we could say, okay, what if we bring that money into a game and allow it to pass through the game to people on the other side who were also playing but needed money? Basically, you could have two different player profiles, somebody who has a tremendous amount of time but does not have a lot of money, and somebody who has a lot of money and they're willing to pay that money through and use that to advance their gameplay. We've created a pipeline to facilitate that, and it's worked fantastically. We have tens of thousands of users all over the world who have earned some decent amounts of money. We over last year, our ecosystem distributed about $2.2 billion worth of game rewards and ecosystem rewards to people all over the world. And in the developing world, this can make a massive difference. I mean, we've had people who have been sharecroppers for generations be able to actually buy their own homes in the Philippines and, you know, lift people out of generational poverty. And that's something that I'm super proud of, and that we work. This is why we do what we do.
It's such a fascinating thing, and I'm a big fan, exactly, because in 2021, if you look back, the world experienced both the rise and fall of GameFi, with popular games including Decentraland and Sandbox and Axie Infinity enabling players to earn in a new standard for gameplay. Within these confines of the game, games, players were allowed to experience this true asset ownership, as verified by the blockchain, earning profits divided among players regardless of where they were physically located in the world, bringing me to the next point, and I want Shahal to address this. Shahal, while these games have shaped the profitability of gaming, many are still left questioning if the play to earn, this P2E model, can be more than a marketing gimmick. With sustainability plaguing the community, GameFi relies heavily on a continuous stream of outside investments and a dedicated fan base to propel momentum. Unfortunately, though, both have proven to be short-term oriented and in some cases damaging to the ecosystem, the token ecosystem. What do you say to this?
Well, Zen, I think the most important thing is the community. So the people that are actually playing the game, and then audiences that are following gameplay. So there are different kinds of games. Obviously, there are games where an individual is playing and there's no audience, and they're trying to get levels of engagement, through their own gameplay. And if there are others that are associated in that game, they're sort of playing together. But a lot of these games, I think, it's early days, and they need to develop further, where you have individual players, you have community of players, and then you have players that are being viewed by a larger community that's going to engage with them. And what needs to happen, in my view, is the greater population. As Jason was saying, they've bifurcated, which is, I think, brilliant, Jason. You've bifurcated the actual players that have money, and then with let's say an audience that watches that probably doesn't have that much money. So the view is, let's then find a way to monetize that audience that's engaging, that doesn't have that much money, and that's where I think the real benefit's going to come to a lot of these economies, as Jason was talking about. And this is where our focus has been always: is how do you get $10? I mean, $10 is a lot to somebody in India or in Africa. It pays their bills. And that's the population that we want on, and that means developing a lot of different games of different types that allow culturally these people to also now participate.
Yeah, exactly. Because the play to earn is basically, play to earn is basically a job. It's not fun. You do something and you get rewards, then people cash out their earnings over and over again, and they don't really contribute to the community. They're just doing their tasks and getting paid. And a play and earn model, which is a very interesting new model that is kind of taking the industry by storm, is what I feel is needed, where it's fun and rewarding, so people can spend hours, days, and months playing and getting better, competing and collaborating, building a really, really incredible community. And I'm going to segue to Jason for this. So Jason, today GameFi projects lack the scale and infrastructure necessary for mainstream accessibility, and this contributes to high upfront costs and fees and potential network bottlenecks. Furthermore, NFTs, like the crypto market, can be incredibly volatile. Their value can fluctuate from one hour to the next, making them risky assets to hold. And in the same vein, market observers have warned that the high rate of interest in NFTs can lead to an economic bubble that could burst at any time. What are your thoughts on this?
So we've brought, absolute gaming giants into the space. We've got 28 actual AAA games in development right now. We've deployed over $300 million in game funding over the first couple months of this year. It's about creating an amazing game that people love to play, that people will pay to play, and that then leaves a reserve of value for people on the other side that can be extracted by those who need to play in order to survive. This has been seen through COVID. It's been very interesting.
Yes, it's extremely interesting. And players in play to earn games, they don't only create value for themselves, they create value for the game. Developers of the game get revenue, and the players own the assets acquired in the game, all of which translate into tangible real world value. So you are exactly correct. And essentially, utility driven NFTs are non-fungible tokens that are attached to a physical good or service. And it's important to understand that the potential for utility driven NFTs can actually range quite significantly, from somewhat silly things like items in a video game to very serious things like health insurance or food stamps. And utility-driven NFTs in video games are something of a half measure in that they don't offer you a tangible benefit. However, play-to-earn gaming, where utility NFTs are often found, is playing an interesting part in the broader crypto blockchain economy. Talk to me about this notion.
It's a form of ownership, really. I mean, that can be documented across different platforms. And, I think where this entire sector could go to is decentralized and then centralized to a degree, because you need to be able to have people almost go across gaming platforms as they do, almost like, as they're traveling between different countries in the future, and maybe you have interactive games and interactive environments that are actually digital and then or virtual and then real. And I think that's the world that we see meshing in the future, where people are able to take part in various activities that are in both worlds, and then they have a proof of those activities, or they have a proof of their ownership of items within those environments. And that's where I think these NFTs are going to be longer term, and are going to not just sort of, let's say, depreciate in value as soon as you buy them, right? That's a different model that's been going on, and I think that model is short-lived, because what's going to happen is, if you continue with NFTs that are just based on economic, let's say, gain, and only they're designed for a community to sort of mint a certain amount, and then hopefully that community feels it'll rise. That, once again, I don't think is a sustainable model, because if the community loses value in the NFT, that NFT and the community loses credibility. So I think the longer term NFT model is one of ownership, and I think that is one that these games, as we design these games and as we implement these games, if those are calibrated within the gaming system, it's going to be important for people to have ownership.
Very true. Exactly. And you couldn't have said it better. And in the end, recently, in an article, Mirko Basil, founder and CEO of A.M.O.X Gaming, said it very eloquently. Gaming is not only playing, it's owning, building, sharing, chatting, and more. Adding on that in gaming and in crypto, like, the most important focus is community. And the greatest feats of both industries are creating attractive and impactful communities. All right. So let's pick it up here with Axie Infinity Sky Mavis. So recent reports indicate that Axie Infinity Sky Mavis, that the game has surpassed 2 million daily active users. And the majority of players are found in Southeast Asia, with 10% in the United States and a remaining approximately 20 to 25% across Europe and Africa. And this is according to Navik. Now, but there's one particular barrier for Axie Infinity players, okay? You need to buy 3 Axie characters, NFTs, to be able to play the game and earn rewards. These NFTs are now fetching around $400 each, pricing out many potential players. This model doesn't seem fair and rather offensive to the game. What are your thoughts? Jason, you could go first.
Boy, you're really poking the hornet's nest with this one, aren't you? So gosh, how do I begin with this? So looking at that model, okay, I have no problem with the model that somebody needs to buy something in order to play. However, what I have a problem with is what that turns into when you pair it with bad tech solutions. So, for example, one of the things right now, if you were to go on Twitter and you were to look for a guild, right? What you're going to find is hundreds of comments from people living in the developing world who are posting, please, please, please let me be your scholar. Please, please, please let me play the game. Buy Axies for me. And these people are including full resumes, okay, as images that have their home addresses, their Philippine national identity number, all of this, like deeply doxing themselves to maybe be able to play a video game, to maybe earn a little bit of money, and then all the power is in the hands of the person that owns the Axie.
It's funny, Jason, because these are exactly, you echo my sentiment when it comes to that. That's why I'll let you do the heavy lifting, because you're the expert here. Shahal?
Well, I mean, I would love to add to what Jason, you've already done, which is great for privacy and it's great for protection of identity, and it stops a lot of illicitly bad things that can happen to people in terms of this becoming the opposite of what it's supposed to be, which is getting people into debt and a lot of problems. I think, to add to Jason, what I would love to do is to see companies like Gala Games add functionality to it, where the community that is participating and engaging is able to get monetized for their data that they create. And it could be additional functions in terms of talking about the game, talking about brands within the game, because that's data value that is being monetized, for example, normally on other OTT platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and there is now a real functionality need in games as they're being developed, that communities, as they're engaging, they could be pixels created within the games where there are active actions that these other users that are within the community can take other than just playing the game. And then there's a backward sell of that data to data buyers that they authorize. And at that point, they're also, creating a monetary win for themselves without having to expose themselves to a lot of these financial risks.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much where it's at. Well, we're almost out of time. We have just about a minute left, and I just wanted to thank you both for coming on. Jason, it was very, very, very inspirational talking to you, because your perspective from the development side and doing what you do, paving the way for people to earn real income in a fair way in a stable ecosystem, like what it is your core belief, is actually very different to see in this rising environment where everybody is just trying to get a piece of the pie.
Yeah, it's we stand apart, and that is what we've always done, and we will continue to do.
I take my hat off to you. Gala Games, one great company right there. All right, Shahal, thank you so much for bringing on another great guest. It was always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Zen.
All right, guys, that was My Digital World, brought to us by Tempus Network. That was CEO and founder Shahal Khan and president of blockchain at Gala Games, Jason Brink. Definitely check them out, Tempus.network and app.gala.games. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
Hey guys, this is Kyle Wool, president of Revere Securities. Obviously, the markets have been very volatile over the last few months, ever since the invasion from Russia into the Ukraine. We've had a massive move to the upside in commodity prices, which is also, you could attribute to the Biden administration's continuing to print money, which has also driven the prices up of both hard and soft commodities across the board, which I think the average consumer and the average investor has absolutely felt in their pocket when they're going to the local gas station and paying $5 a gallon, when just 2 years ago under a different administration they were paying $2 a gallon. So with that, we've seen some interesting moments in the financial markets, one of which being the Federal Reserve Bank, chaired by Mr. Powell, is trying to offset the nastiness of inflation, and he is doing that by ending the tapering and beginning to raise the federal interest rates, which has also been adversarial to the mortgage markets. Now, when you see the 30-year mortgage has gone from 2.5% to almost 5% inside of the last 6 months. So there are definitely some headwinds in the financial markets right now, but with that said, there's always opportunity. And I think the opportunity is to think about rotation out of traditional fixed income into maybe some fixed income that has the ability to withstand rising interest rates, like TIPS, Treasury Protected Securities, Treasury Inflation Protected Securities, TIPS. I think those are a good place to hide. Some also floating rate securities, some real estate investment trusts. Real estate will do well in a rising inflation rate. With inflation up 5%, real estate's up almost 8.5%. Also, you can look at master limited partnerships. These are other things that people will look for in a rising interest rate environment, and typically small caps and mid caps will outperform large cap dividend paying stocks. My one message on the business bump is the long-term investor will always do well as long as you stay in good quality assets, you don't panic, you're not over leveraged. The S&P 500 over the last 50 years and every 10-year cycle has been the best performing asset. So I would say stay in there with your long-term investments, but if you need to tweak your portfolio, over concentrated in some assets that may be affected more by rising interest rates, like your traditional 30-year treasury or your large cap dividend paying stocks, you may want to pare back in those. So that's the weekly business bump from Kyle Wool, president of Revere Securities. Thanks a lot.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Hi There. a creative community exploring the culture, craft, and science of cannabis. Hi There believes that we have a collective responsibility towards eradicating the stigma, misinformation, and inequities surrounding this plant so we can unlock its true potential for all. To become involved and find out what all the excitement is about, download the Hi There app from the App Store and Google Play. Hi There, HIGHTHERE.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. or go to 710WOR.iheart.com/A Moment of Xen. Remember, we're now on TV. Download the KP Media TV app on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, or Android TV, or tune in at watch.kpmedia.tv and catch A Moment of Xen on the Impact Live channel Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern. All episodes are now available on demand. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Xen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks to all of our sponsors that make this show happen. And remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. See you next week.